Hey guys, it's Lauren here, bringing you another book review. I know I just finished Gone with the Wind yesterday after 4 months of reading it, but today I have another book review to give you called God in a Brothel by Daniel Walker. As you can see, it was a very short read, only about 200 pages. I started it a week or so ago, and obviously just finished it today, and I was really excited about giving my review and giving my thoughts on this book. But before I do that, I want to read you guys a quote which I think really embodies what the book is about. And it's, "To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause." And that's by the man from La Mancha. I don't really know who that is, but I think that quote really embodies what this story is about and what just what it is. This is a nonfiction book. I know many of you don't know me, obviously, but I have a big heart for human trafficking and human trafficking victims, and victims of that sort of slavery. I don't really know where it came from, but I've always felt like it's been laid on my heart, and eventually I would like to work with victims of human trafficking that have been exploited and work with them and help counsel them and all that sort of thing. So I've read a lot of books. I've bought a lot of books and read quite a few books, watched quite a few documentaries, movies like Taken or the human trafficking movie that Lifetime did a couple years ago with Donald Sutherland, and I can't remember the blonde girl's name. But anyways, so I've read a couple of books and I've done my research on the topic quite extensively. I've been to some seminars and that sort of thing. So my heart is really, really into the victims of human trafficking. And with each book I've read, I've learned something completely different. At first, when I bought books and I was learning, I was like, if you read one human trafficking book, you probably read them all. But that's completely not true. The first nonfiction book I ended up reading was called Inside the Devil's Bedroom. I don't remember the author's name, but that was a Christian take on the global human trafficking and what was going on globally in Latin America, in Asia, in even in Europe, and what goes on in those countries with human trafficking. The author didn't give too much of their personal encounter with the victims, just the victim stories. Didn't really talk about the author, or the author didn't mention themselves at all, really. So it was just like some facts and stories about human trafficking victims. Sorry, I apologize for the stuttering. The next book I read was called Somebody's Daughter. Again, I can't remember the author's name. It's upstairs in my room somewhere. That was a nonfiction book that was written by a journalist who had a secular take on dealing with human trafficking victims. That was mainly dealing with victims, underage victims in America. So it was very interesting. It was a little dry at times because he's a journalist. He's spouting off facts, court dates, and all sorts of policies and police procedures that they have to go through in order to arrest these the pimps and the men that prey on the women and sell them for sex. This book was completely different entirely. I was expecting something not as personal as what I got. Daniel Walker not only talks about the victims he's encountered in his experience with helping victims of human trafficking, but it also goes into depth on the emotional and spiritual journey he went through in his job, and how everything wasn't always as planned, didn't always go as planned, and how his life ended up taking a drastic turn towards the end. It's very inspiring because it's real, it's raw, and you see how much he struggles even though he's doing something heroic, he's struggling at the same time because he's around these half-naked women, trying to get their stories, trying to arrest, the pimps and the people preying on these women, but he's also falling into some temptation himself in working in that atmosphere. And it just seemed very real. It was very inspiring too, because you think, oh, that's such a great thing he's doing, and you're like, I want to do that, and that's so heroic, and I want to do that. But he also talks about the precautions that you need to take and the things that you encounter when working in an atmosphere like that, even for the right reasons. And I found it blew my mind away. There's another quote I wanted to read that I found really inspiring. And it was, he talks towards the end of the book, he talks about why he wrote this book and why he's being so vulnerable and so transparent, and why he's sharing his experiences and his downfalls with the reader. And this is what he says. I want them to live fully aware of the fact that God knows they will make mistakes and anticipates that they will sometimes suffer. But like young Betsy Ten Boom, who during World War II found herself inside the horror of a Nazi concentration camp, I want them to know with all their being that there is no pit so deep that God is not deeper still. And I found that so moving and so inspiring. I definitely, without a doubt, gave this book obviously 5 stars, but how can you rate a book to this degree? It was a moving read, and by far the best read of 2012, I have to say. Hands down, most inspiring read, most well-written, and heart-wrenching read. I have to say, heart-wrenching. Cried a couple times, teared up a couple times, so definitely would recommend this to anyone, regardless if you're Christian, if you're Muslim, if you're Buddhist, if you're atheist. Definitely check this book out, because regardless of who you are, I'm sure you'll share the same sort of feelings that Daniel feels and I feel about human trafficking and the travesty that it is. So that is my review on God in a Brothel by Daniel Walker. As I promised, later on this week or next week, whenever I get my shipment of books and DVDs from Amazon, I will do a haul. The next book I am going to be reading is The Arabian Nights, though I think I'm going to give myself a little time to kind of digest what I just read before I start that book, because it's quite a thick book and it's an easier read than obviously this was. So that's my update. That's what's going on with me. Let me know what's going on with you guys in your comments. Link any videos of any book hauls you've been doing. I would definitely love to check those out. So I will see you next time, and until then, happy reading, guys.